Hello, hello. This is Karen Campbell. I'm a mixed media artist, and I haven't done a true mixed media grunge piece in quite a long time, and I'm feeling super inspired today. I recently, on my other drawing channel, drew this Fun Fab Faces version of The Girl with the Pearl Earring by Vermeer. And then I discovered that my favorite YouTube channel, which is called Royalty Now Studios, who they do recreations of people in history. I was so inspired by their modern version of her, and I'll put another picture up on the screen for you so you can see it because it's so crazy to see her in as like a modern person. That I wanted to see if I could do like a really grungy, like true proper art journal mixed media version of the girl with the pearl earring. So that is my attempt in today's video. I was also really inspired by these beautiful butterfly napkins that I found at Home Goods the other day. And I thought for sure I could use them. I actually end up covering almost all of them. So I'm going to do another project with them because really don't do them any justice in this one. But like all good mixed media art journaling projects, you really don't end up seeing most of the collage that you end up putting down if you're using that as your base layer. So while I start out very neatly adhering these to my art journal page, it doesn't quite end up that way, but that's exactly what I was going for. So I'm working in my Strathmore hardcover watercolor journal, which I've worked in. I think this is my 6th or 7th. These journals can take absolutely anything that you can throw at them, which is I thought it would be perfect for today's project. So I love to use matte medium for any materials that I'm gluing down that are like thin or paper related in any way. Napkins can be a little bit tricky when you're gluing massage, so don't be afraid to get in there with your fingers to really iron out the bubbles and the wrinkles. You have to use quite a bit both under as well as over when you are gluing. So definitely don't be afraid to get in there, get a little dirty. This is true mixed media. You're going to get your hands dirty. That's just all there is to it. But also that's part of the fun. So I just did one side. Make sure too if you want to use napkins for your collage, a couple of things. One, it's going to be super wrinkly, but I was going for grunge, so I was okay with it. So if you're looking for like a super smooth collage layer, do not use napkins. As smooth as they are, and I did a good job of like getting out all the air bubbles and whatnot, they're just wrinkly. They're just so paper thin. They're thinner than paper thin. They just get wrinkly. But again, I wanted grunge. I wanted to see what she would look like with using my mixed media hamburger system. And if you're wondering, did she just say hamburger? That would be yes. This is my tried and true mixed media method. I have a whole series on YouTube here about it. If you're interested in learning more, I will link it in the description box and in the comments below. It's really my basis for, I'm not joking, hundreds of projects. It's super fun. So I'll walk you through that again today. But if you want to do a deep dive on each layer, I break it down for you in a couple other YouTube videos. So you're welcome to binge that. It also became a book because I am an author as well. But now that our napkins are properly adhered and dried, I reached for a couple of my inks. I used these recently in a club member project that I was doing. I can't remember which club it was now. Anywho, I got my inks out and made me very happy. So I went a little crazy on the page and just started randomly smattering around. And I have this fan brush and I was really enjoying the kind of streaks that it was leaving on my paper. So I just kind of went with it. Today's project, just so you know, was zero about doing a good job and everything about kind of just getting my emotions out on paper, to be honest. And that's where mixed media can be really come in clutch as an artist. It's so expressive because, at least for me personally, I don't take care when I'm doing these projects. I'm messy on purpose. I'm flicking my brush around and it has nothing to do with the fact that if it looks good or bad. I'm just doing it honestly because it feels super good. Like I'm getting out my anxiety, like any like rage I have comes out of my brush. So that is the point in today's, I don't know if you would call this a lesson, a demonstration, but this is me kind of getting my angst out, And that is when I am doing my mixed media projects. I definitely feel like I get I get to express myself the most, I guess. Versus over on my drawing channel, everything is very deliberate and nothing is free or whimsical, hardly ever. But over here, I get to kind of tap into my super creative side. So I love these colored inks by Ranger makes these archival inks, but they make them in a crazy range of colors. And I've started collecting them. So I was really happy to start using them today. Um, Again, I just poured gesso right onto my paper, way too much, but I don't care, guys. I just don't even care at this point. I'm like, all right, fine. I'll just scoop it back into the jar. I really tried to stay as detached as possible from the result, which is hard to do when you're on YouTube because you really put yourself all the way out there and you have people come in and they leave super mean comments like, what's that piece of crap you made? Like, I can't believe this. But people are super mean. So it does take a little bit of balls to like just go hog wild and not care about what you're making, since you're allowing the whole world kind of into the privacy of your art studio and kind of what's on your mind. So be gentle, but also a lot of times, and this is true, I think, for most artists, like the art isn't about the art. You know what I mean? It's about like who is creating it, who is behind it, what are they feeling that day? So much more than what is the end result. And for sure that was today. I was thinking the whole time to myself, like, holy wrinkles, like this. It takes a lot of guts to try to even try to put a face on wrinkled napkins when it's incredibly bumpy. And I was wondering when I got to the gelato part if I was even going to be able to even apply them without it just looking terrible. But like honestly, I didn't care though. I was like, I'm just gonna do it anyways. If it looks bad, it looks bad. Like, see what happens. You can learn a lot if you just throw caution to the wind and just do it anyways. Just do it without fear. You can always paint over your page. You can always black gesso your page. You can always throw out your page. Like, it just doesn't matter sometimes. And that was definitely one of those days today. So hopefully you appreciate a little peek into my total reckless abandonment as I attack this page today and all the wrinkles. But yeah, it's really fun to kind of look at an image and just have it inspire you throughout the whole entire piece. That is that photocopy to the on my left that I'm using as a reference is taken from the Royalty Now Studios. I did grab that with permission. I reached out to the main author of that channel, who's a graphic designer, and I asked her if I could please use her modern day interpretations for my own artworks on my own channel because I'm just so inspired. And I plan to do a whole series of these drawing historical figures inspired by those videos in my fun fab style. So what I love about it so much is that I love history and I love I just love history, all parts of it, reading about it, going to antique stores and buying pieces of it. I collect like vintage and antique electronics and I love old books, and like incorporating them to my art isn't something I actually do very often. So I really wanted to actually start bringing them into the fold because I really genuinely find them so fascinating. So this couple of paintings and drawings of the girl with the pearl earring is actually going to be just the beginning of a whole series that I will be doing. I think on both of my channels to some degree, but I will definitely be drawing them all over my Karen Campbell Draws channel. But back to our mixed media craziness that we have going on right now. So after I have that first white layer was white gesso by Liquitex, and once that is all dry, I just am going in with some skin tone. This is like cheap craft paint. I was too lazy to even squirt it out on a palette. I was just taking the brush right from the tube to the paper. Same thing. If you notice, I don't have a palette through any of these colors for this whole project. I'm just pouring the items that I need directly onto the page each time. I really wanted to just see if anything remotely good could come out if I was as sloppy and careless as possible, to be honest. It's a really fun experiment. Be like, I wonder if she's going to just look bad the whole entire time. Because a lot of times what I find is that like they actually come out okay. But again, still has all those wrinkles. So in the back of my mind, I'm just thinking like, is that going to work? Can I do shading on a piece of paper that is covered with wrinkles and it look even okay? So you'll have to see. You'll have to wait and find out. So the whole joy for me for this hair too is that first, just the freedom of this. First of all, this journal is huge. So the freedom to be able to run your brush in a giant curve from root all the way to the tip on the other page is super freeing. It's a super freeing experience. I also had those drawn lines in Stabilo black pencil so that when I'm putting the paint over the lines, they're reactivating all those black lines. And so they're making them like extra juicy and kind of run as well. So yeah, I highly recommend trying someone with long flowy hair if you've never done it. I also wanted to give her hair that was completely unlike the new modern version and the historical version when she has that gorgeous like head wrap and turban on. And I was like, what would this look like if she was completely re-envisioned, right? As a mixed media hamburger masterpiece. So once I did put a second coat of paint on just to add some shading. I was trying to stay true to the painting, to the reference, and I lost a bit of her features with that acrylic paint. So I'm just going back in with my Stabilo all pencil. If you are trying to recreate her or doing a mixed media hamburger project following my book or any of my lessons, just know, be forewarned that when we get to the next move, which is shortly going to be applying a sealer. I'm using Mod Podge, but you can use a bunch of other things if you want to. All these lines that I'm drawing are going to reactivate like crazy. So I've had people come to me in tears saying, oh my God, everything moved when I add the sealant. And my answer is always like, I know, right? It's amazing. But it's very horrifying if it's not intentional on your end. So it is intentional on my end. So just be aware that is a huge kind of side effect. I was also shocked that my gelatos actually worked over all the crazy wrinkles and everything. It worked fine. Actually, it worked fine. I was, again, very, very, very surprised. But then also that's the joy of really putting your materials to the test and seeing, really truly testing what they'll do. I have people that email all the time these questions like, what happens if I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? And it kills me because I'm happy to give them the answer, but I want to be like, don't you even just want to try it and see for yourself? Like, are you just curious on your own? Like, I feel bad that you would be so scared that you would have to ask me for, permission to kind of like do all the moves, where I'm like, I just want to encourage you to like, just try it, because I kid you not, 9 times out of the 10, like, you can work with it. It's really cool. And you're testing your own kind of abilities as an artist, as well as testing the abilities of your qualities, I should say, of your art supplies. So just give it a shot sometime. And when you are curious, see if you can investigate your own answer to your own question. You might just end up having the art creative time of your freaking life. You know what I mean? Because I know I did. So you can see all the wrinkles now that I'm like I'm super up close. You can see how wrinkly and crazy that is. So if you don't want that effect, most people do not want that effect, just FYI. I am aware of that. If you're not looking for that, just stay away from napkins in general. Oh, here's my Mod Podge move. Normally I actually dunk this right onto her face, but I know that I had so much Stabilo down. You do have to be careful because this is crazy. And when I do this move, I always start with the right in the middle of the face because that's when my sponge brush is the cleanest. If you're scared of doing the face and you do everywhere else, by the end of me doing this, my brush is like disgusting. So I actually do her face first. And I do it very carefully, and you'll see that Stabilo starts smearing all over the place. And this is usually where people's heart attacks ensue. So just be forewarned. There is massive consequences, but I use them. I use the smear like for my edgy look, and I kind of work with it. But that's only because I've done 100 projects before. So if you're new to this kind of process, just be forewarned. It's a whole thing. And if you're not into that look, do not use water-soluble materials before you go and activate them with your sealant. Stay away. Use permanent materials instead. Or seal your work with a spray sealer. That's my biggest, hottest tip for this whole process. So if you don't want smearing, either stay away from, just use permanent materials. You can just use a regular black color pencil. If you wanted a similar look without the smear, you just use permanent materials. And then you can use a brush on, or you can use the same materials that I'm using, or, water soluble, whatever, and then just use a spray and you won't have the smear. So that's, if I could highlight that information, I would. I do have a free cheat sheet that goes over all the layers of this. If you want it, just let me know. I should have mentioned that at the beginning, but I forgot. But yeah, it's my favorite way to make stuff. So now that the Mod Podge has dried, that was just matte Mod Podge, I love to doodle across with my Pitt pens. And I'm just doing my old process. She's looking nice and grungy, just is exactly what I set out to make her look like. I wanted to go through my process. I wanted to use my napkins, even though I know that they're like a wrinkly hot mess. But that was my intention, was let's like barf the girl with pearl earring all over my page and see what happens. So Pitt pens are great. They're filled with a permanent India ink, and you can smudge them with your fingers for a good minute after you put them down, and that is made possible by that Mod Podge sealer layer. You can also just leave them be and not move them with your finger, and then they'll get kind of encapsulated when you seal over them again. So, yep, it's a great way to add shading. It's a nice slow way to add shading, but the best part about it is that you can erase using a paper towel. So if you go too crazy anywhere, just take a baby wipe and you can just wipe it right off. It totally erases. So hot tip, love my Pitt pens. People always ask me, what can I use for a Pitt pen alternative? And honestly, there really isn't. They are one-of-a-kind markers. They don't make them in the big, I have all the big barrel ones as well, which I stopped making them except for, like, there's like a gift set. I collect them all. I used to buy them individually at Jerry's Artorama, and you can still buy quite a few of them on Amazon individually as well, but they did not discontinue their literally skinny barrel ones, so I have pretty much all those as well. Through my years and years of making these hamburger mixed media projects, the only markers that I've had to replace are my black and white ones. And those, they both make in skinny barrel and the big fat barrels. They still make regularly, so those are easy to get a hold of, but they're just fantastic. I used to use my big black Pitt pen for eyelashes and all the outlines. And a few years ago, I switched to using my Pentel pocket brush pen. It just makes the best lashes in the whole wide world. I have a whole video on making lashes with this, which I will link above and below for you as well. It's my favorite utensil in my whole wide world. So I use it all the time, but it's just fantastic for drawing eyelashes. So, funnily enough, she was looking super rough until the very last minute. And then I love her at the end. And it just reminded me, like, actually, with my mixed media projects, I feel like that is always the case. Like, I feel like they always look bad up until the very end. So it's just a nice reminder for anyone else watching, like, just don't stop. I mean, she's a wrinkly mess, but like, she's funky, she's edgy, she's cool, and I don't hate her at all, even though she was like looking rough for most of that whole thing. So I hope you enjoy this upcoming sort of historical faces series. I'm going to explore a whole bunch more. And I just want to thank Royalty Now Studios for allowing me to continue being inspired by all of their videos and allowing me to um, use those as a jumping point for my own creativity. I super appreciate it. And I do also love helping to bring these historical figures back into life, make them relevant, make them interesting, put actual modern face on people that would otherwise either be forgotten or just sort of poo-pooed. My youngest son right now, Max, is taking AP World History, and he's bored out of his mind. And I just wish that his teacher knew about some of these projects that people are to kind of bring these characters who are very real characters to life in a new way and make them fun and exciting for our kids so that we can, keep exploring and learning, appreciating all the things we have from today based on the decisions and the wars won and the, beautiful painters that helped bring to life the history while it was happening. So I hope you enjoy the series. I hope you enjoy the first one. You can click the video on the screen if you want to draw along with me, our first version. And I hope you learned a little something about mixed media today. Don't be afraid, don't stop, and enjoy. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.